Welcome back to the Unwind podcast. I'm your host, Lucas. I run a couple of agencies, one being a creative agency and another being a TikTok first agency. I also recently started an ecom brand, so very much still on my journey to finding success as an entrepreneur. Now, this podcast is all about meeting with like-minded entrepreneurs and professionals to go deep, have a little bit of fun as well over a drink or two out of office hours. Most business podcasts struggle to do that and are a bit formal and professional and interview-like, and we definitely want to break that and go deeper, have a bit of fun, as well as offer tons of value. So you can find us on Spotify or YouTube at Unwind Podcast. Now let's get into the pod. Well, welcome back to another episode of Unwind. Today, sorry, just doing the levels. Today I'm joined by Joe Hides, founder of Affluent.co and the Affluent Agency.
Hello, everybody.
And obviously Connor Martin as well, who has been, both of these guys have been on the pod. Connor is founder of the Essence Vault and a few other brands. And yeah, just thought we would do a Unwind episode on tour. We're actually at Geekout currently, aren't we?
Yes.
So we're in our hotel. So just thought we'd jump on here, do a bit of like a chilled episode. We've obviously done your guys' stories. So just thought we'd jump on, answer some questions that I bank questions when people message me them off the back of the pod, and I thought some of them are quite cool because they kind of bridge across the whole ecom and agency space. So it would be nice to see like the opinions of things. But yeah, how you boys doing? Not that we haven't spent the whole fucking day together already, but
Yeah, we've done a lot of talking already, haven't we?
Yeah,
We've done a lot of sunbathing as well, which is why I'm burnt to a crisp.
Oh, 5 minutes of it.
Yeah. That's what you get for being ginger, I guess.
there's some context just while I do this as to like where we are, what we're doing, and yeah.
Yeah, so we're at Geekout, a massive, what do you call it? DTC sort of. It's not even just DTC. Help me out.
It's like e-commerce.
Yeah,
It's like
e-commerce
an
event, information event. I think there's the average earnings is around 15 mil a client, so it's quite a high end event. So it's nice to be around people that are sort of in the same space as yourself, and I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you've done a geek out already. Haven't
Yes, Joe and Ollie, we were at Geekout Dubai.
Woo!
Woo!
Chin chin, and it was.
How was
that?
that?
It was really eye opening and surprising because obviously yourselves as well. The UK is a lot smaller scale in the sort of e-commerce vibes. So anything you see on YouTube, it's naturally always US stuff. So it's weird to be in the same room as sort of some of the guys that you looked up to when you were learning these things.
Did you find that the last Geek Out event there was more people from the US than there was the UK?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
by far. Yeah,
probably 80%.
Right.
Not so much 80% US, probably 80% other.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting question then. Do you think that's because there's more success in the US in terms of e-com, or do you think that events like this are just more widely known because the culture, like people like learning stuff more?
It's a tough one, really. I naturally think the UK is always behind in most things.
Yeah.
in the event space, I think it's so behind. There's not really much going on in the UK.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, but then why would there be? If we can come to these sort of things, and naturally we don't have any sunshine, there's not really much reason to bring this to the UK. It would be nice to have. It would be nice to have. Cheers.
Cheers. So yeah, the
Cheers,
drink
gents.
of choice today. Joe's splashed out on the bachelor pad today this weekend. So he got, is that champagne or prosecco?
I don't know actually.
Yeah. So uncultured.
I thought it might be champagne, but then I tasted it and I was like, ooh, not sure.
So fucking let's get into it. So I wanted to actually try something a bit different. So obviously this was like such a spontaneous thing. Although I'd brought all the kit and shit, like I didn't really plan to do this. But I've just kind of thought of a game that we could do just to get started, really. And it's nothing I've really seen done before in the space. So it's going to be a lot of shit just thrown around in this episode. We're going to do some questions, answer some of that. We're going to start on these kind of... Have you played that game before, Never Have I Ever, like the drinking game. It's kind of like a spin-off on that, but like a statement is made. If you agree with the statement, you drink.
Ecom After Dark.
Yeah. If you agree with the statement, you drink, and if you don't agree with the statement, you obviously don't drink. And then we just discuss each point, you know, giving our opinion on it, I guess. So yeah, I guess like let's just fucking get straight into it. So first one, working with someone you're in a relationship at work does not work.
Is that towards me? Yeah. I think this
deadbolt in the eyes.
This stems from a question in a different podcast. Where that person was really against it.
So firstly, is anyone drinking to that? So does anyone agree with that statement?
I'm not drinking to that.
So yeah, this statement was, it doesn't work.
I reckon it can work, so I'm not drinking.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool.
Definitely not drinking there. Yeah, I've said it in a few different podcasts. We have all my brands are sort of stem from a family orientation, and that's not it's not sort of the old-fashioned, you know, we only employ family sort of thing. We naturally always stem from it all comes from good people employ good people.
Yeah.
Simply, so if we get a good employee, we tend to ask them first, you know, we're hiring for ABC roles, have you got anyone in mind? Naturally, that's a family member, and we don't really mind that. So I work with my brother, dad, my missus, her mother, her brother, and naturally some other employees, they have their parents, their brothers or sisters, all working with them, and that's because, you know, if they're happy to vouch for them people, then I'm happy to give them the chance based on the work that employee has done. And
what's the separation like then from a business and relationship perspective? Do you like keep it in the office?
Yeah, it's so
like,
true.
How does it?
By the way, be careful of doing that with the XLR. Just on
separation's pretty. It's more second nature now because it's not. You know, we tend to do quite different roles. You know, Lessons Plus is a pretty big brand now, so you know, Penny would do sort of influencer outreach, that sort of spectrum, whereas I'm doing more of the higher level stuff. Obviously speaking to agencies, things like that. So naturally in the day-to-day space, we probably speak to each other or see each other the same amount as if she wasn't in the same job, sort of thing.
Yeah. Because I guess the thing that would worry me is if they were doing something wrong or doing their job badly, and then there's almost like that separation of the way that you would maybe speak to an employee to get the best out of them, and you know, make sure that they're doing their job correctly. If they're doing it wrong, as to if you're in a relationship with that person, like how do you deal with that in a because I kind of went through this. Helena has started doing some UGC and she's really fucking good at it, but like that's the first taste I had of it, and we're like, it's going really well now. Like she's making some great videos, and you know, she's really, really good at it. But I remember at the start, it was a lot her getting used to me. She basically, there was like one piece of UGC that she created, and I think I went in just like quite bluntly with some feedback for it. And she was like, got upset about it, and she's like, you didn't give me the feedback sandwich. And I was like, what the fuck's the feedback sandwich? I was like, the shit sandwich, basically, where you start with something nice, then something shit, then the meat of it. And
so
then
straight away she was getting emotional.
So like, it kind of like, so we had a little bit of a spat there. So it's, you know, how do you deal with that? Have you had a situation like that before?
Number one, I only employ people in the roles that they're in if they are good enough. You know, so if it's such and such wants to progress, okay, do this role for a month or two, find out how it suits, and if it's going good, then you can progress in the role. So it's always got that expectation. But I find it a lot easier because you don't need to do the fucking feedback sandwich. It can just be, you can give the information.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, you've let me down here. You haven't been able to fulfill these items. You haven't been, you know, this content shit. I can just say it. I don't need to do, okay, so why and do we think...
She'll like...
Yeah, and that's across the board. Like, that's every sort of staff, family member, whatever. I don't have to do the whole...
Because his brother's works for him as well.
Right.
So
Okay, yeah.
You don't need to do the whole, okay, so this is very good, but do you not think this could be better? It's just, look, why the fuck is this going wrong? How can we fix it? Done, go.
Do your family appreciate you as kind of like the leader of the company in terms of like that? Because I feel like to be able to pull that off effectively, they have to have 100% trust in you that you're making the best decisions for the company, even when you tell them they're doing shit wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I've never... It's something that I kind of did struggle with early on, or not so much early on, even as much as last year, and because obviously age, obviously we're all coming along age-wise, but we're still quite young in the grand scheme of things. Employing people that are 40, 50, 60, that is quite hard. It's quite hard, but we're all successful, and everyone else sees that sort of in the family. So I don't think that. Once you sort of realise that, then I don't think that's something that's thought of or you even question, because you're like, look around you.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah.
I know.
It's working.
I do think that it depends on the person and
Yeah,
the relationship, because I think there are some people that wouldn't be able to get their head around the idea of you telling them what to do, and like wouldn't almost respect those boundaries. Where when you're in the workplace, it's got to be a slightly different relationship, and that's then something that's going to kind of play on their mind. So,
telling them what to do sounds a wee bit micromanagement wise. It's very the opposite. Like I could go a whole week without speaking to Ryan. I could go a whole week without speaking to Penny in work.
I more mean like if something went like normally you wouldn't have to, but it's more if something goes wrong in the business or they fuck up.
Yeah. Of course, then you have them chats, but it's not. It's never been an actual issue.
Yeah. To be fair, I think you've fucking dealt with it very well. I think it's rare. Like, honestly, me personally, because I think that it works for the right people. But for me, like, I'm very much a person that I need my, if I'm with someone, I want to give everything to them, but I also at the same time want to have my escape. Like, I need my own space. Like, I'm not the kind of person that can be with someone not that you guys, probably aren't really, the size of your company now, you probably aren't really necessarily with them as much as that. But that, for me, it's like, and then I would be scared that almost when you are with them outside of work is just going to leak into everything you do.
Is that a bad thing though?
Not necessarily, to be fair.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to that podcast with the Dermalogica, is that the brand? Founder on Stephen Bartlett's podcast. Yeah. And she was saying that she started it with her partner, and they literally just lived, breathed the brand for like 15 years, and then fucking sold it for like a bill. So obviously, it just depends, doesn't it, on the type of relationship.
If you can find the right balance between you.
Yeah.
Which you've obviously got to a point where you feel like you've done, essentially.
I mean, frustrations are there sometimes, obviously, going on holiday and, you're still eager to check ABC sort of thing. But it's one of them. It's because me and Penny we were together at the very, very start of the Essenceville, and it was... it was pretty much in the kitchen sort of thing. So when a brand's actually physically in the kitchen, there's not really a so-called split or work-life balance. It's just, that this is the role.
How long ago did you start the company?
3 years. 3 years. Yeah.
You've grown so fast.
Yeah. Well, honestly, just
that is pretty fucking mad,
insane.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Just to sort of, I know it is pretty fast in the grand scheme of things, but I think COVID sort of accelerated everything.
Yeah, sure.
I think that year in COVID was basically 5 years
and are you feeling kind of the slump after that?
No, we've sort of steady growth. It was something that was worried about, obviously, but we actually weren't able to grow as fast as what we wanted in COVID because of stock restrictions, because of obviously hand sanitizer, alcohol, perfumes. We couldn't really produce as much as we wanted because all of the alcohol was going to hand sanitizer.
That's so true.
We were only running ads on a Saturday and Sunday because we sold all of the stock on Saturday and Sunday, and then we had a package it all, and then we were only getting enough alcohol in on the Friday for the next Saturday and Sunday. So it was very hard to actually continue growth and keep that growth going. So I don't think we've seen the slump because we didn't reach our potential during COVID, sort of thing. But no, it's still going pretty strong. And yeah,
Of course it is. You got masterminds behind it now.
That's the slump that's gone.
Okay, nice. All right, so next one. Remember, drink if you agree. Don't drink if you don't agree. And I think we need to give it like 5 seconds before we... And I won't make this one as bait. Like I said the last one, just stared at Connor. Accidentally.
That's like
Okay, here's an interesting one. If you want to get into entrepreneurship, start an agency over a brand.
Oh.
Yeah. The two agency boys drink.
No, but I'm saying that in a way that we'll go round, but from my side, the reason I'm saying that is because I genuinely think in today's day and age, it's a lot harder starting a brand than it is an agency. Like, I think there's not that starting an agency is easy. I don't think in any way it's easy, but I do think if you've never started a business before, going into an agency landscape where you can learn everything about a business to a certain extent, so you've got the foundations to then go and start a brand, is probably an easier route. Not that it's a better route, or if you've got the right idea and the right brand, then fucking go for it. But I do think there's a lot more variables involved in starting a brand, such as distribution, fucking fulfillment, profit margins are smaller, than an agency.
Yeah, I think from a cash flow perspective, I think an agency almost is king over anything, any type of business that you could literally launch today. So if the goal is to literally get to 10k a month as quickly as possible, then there's no kind of better way of doing that than getting an agency, because you're not factoring in things that are more out of your control, like profit margins, for example. And
you were doing like 80% net profit monthly, weren't you? Like crazy margin.
Yeah,
HMRC.
Yeah, unbelievable margins on agencies, because all you genuinely need is a skill, and you just need to be able to scale that skill up, and that's essentially it from my perspective.
No, I would definitely disagree on a number of things. Like, first of all, TikTok organic dropshipping. I think that's, for actual net profit, no, obviously.
I think it's more risky though, for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, in terms of like taking a gamble on a product that they have absolutely no idea if it's going to sell or not.
What's the risk? What is the cost?
Well, the risk is the cost of time for starting a brand, because you could go through 10, 15, 20 different products before you get a winner, which could take years and years and years. If you start an agency, you can be making 10k in 3 months, like straight up, and that's certified money.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think we're making it sound easier than it is to make 10k a month.
Yeah, but I'm saying the possibility of being able to do that.
And it's like a dropshipping brand is so fucking short-lived.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It just feels more gambly to me. I don't...
I think off the basis of being on the brand side, physically having, I think from me looking into your sort of world, I still look, you're obviously not working for, but in some cases working for a brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I personally, I couldn't do that. Well, I can't do it really.
Yeah. Well, you've obviously owned a 3PL, and you've spoken about, like, I've had messages from you like, fuck, I don't know how you deal with clients.
Yeah, and that next point, it is hard, because so many times you just want to say, look, fuck off. But I think, like, now I'm just being really, really over the top and saying, look, you're, because obviously from our 3PL, we want them to grow their orders. If they grow, we don't make money if their stock just sits in the warehouse like a normal 3PL does. So a normal 3PL doesn't really want a client actually having orders. They want them not to have orders, because they pay the storage fees. Much. But we want them to grow. We make money on them actually having orders. So we want to, analyze their ads. We want to analyze their website. We want to analyze their shipping options on the website, their emails. Like one of our clients, Zarek, took over their email flows, because that was an opportunity that we seen. And obviously,
So you're almost like consulting them for them as well, so they can fucking
not that it's needed,
move more product.
Not that it's needed, but if we're having a call and they are having frustrations, they've got a big stock coming in, and you just generally say, what's your plan? Have you got any plans? Because obviously we need to know any big sales periods, because we need to get the staff in, blah blah, sort of thing. So if they have a massive sales period where it will spike above double the amount of sales, we need to know about that. So if you're asking the client, okay, so next month, what's the sort of sales periods, email flows, campaigns, anything big going out, and they say no, that's worrying to me.
Yeah. So you're saying it more from the perspective of, you think it's harder working with brands
100%. But what I'm saying,
starting a brand.
What I'm saying there is, from your point of view, and you're managing, maybe not your point of view because you're sort of full stack, but from your point of view, you're helping them with one thing, and that's me. Just ignore it.
Mrs.
We're not working together now, so. From your point of view, being full stack's be a bit different, but
Sure.
were you specialised at a stage? I say specialised, do you know what I mean?
I mean, our core service when we first started was Facebook ads, and the reason that we went into Facebook ads is because that's where the biggest opportunity lied in that particular instance.
Yeah.
So with an agency, because it kind of encompasses a lot of different services that you can kind of build, it's very easy to go, I need to learn that skill and then sell it to a client, especially if there's a marketplace of people that are in business or looking for a particular product, which at the time when we first started was Facebook ads. People were going mental for it. Do you know what I mean? So it was an easy sell. I guess my question to you is, how many businesses or brands, specifically brands, did you start before Essence Vault kind of?
Essence Vault was our first.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is
crazy. That's insane, but that's not normal.
Yeah, that is not normal.
But
that's the thing. I think like the failure rate of starting a brand, if you've never done it before, is pretty mad.
It's higher.
Well, it wasn't
probably all right just putting it down like this, by the way.
Reckon?
If that's easier, yeah, I think so.
Kind of hold mine, I feel quite.
Yeah.
He must be superior.
It's empowering.
I'm also pragging because Connor keeps like banging his hand together.
It's like, can you put it down?
It wasn't my first. Ecom wasn't my first venture. It was probably my fifth or sixth actual thing. So yeah, but I still couldn't think of anything worse than actually an actual agency rather than I don't see 3PL as a. But I feel like that's more down to. I don't know if that's down to. I'm looking at it black and white. What has more variables involved? A brand, right? Like there's a lot more that moving parts. Is it how many variables or is there how many variables you can control? Because from a brand, I can control more. I can control what that product looks like. I can control our 3PL services. I can control our ads. From your point of view, working with a brand, which you've had in a certain instance, you're providing a great service. The brand thinks you're providing a shit service, but it's because ABC is going wrong.
Yeah,
and you're like, look, you're not using these creators properly, so that's why it's not working.
Yeah.
It
But
happens.
Do you know what I mean? So, but is that not the most frustrating thing in the world?
It is, but
especially
if
when
we're talking pure cash flow, the client's already paid you the money to deliver the service to them. Do you know what I mean? And if the question is, starting a business from scratch, what's the best way to make money straight off the bat?
Yeah.
It's just feels like I get what you're saying, by the way.
Yeah.
And I also get what you're saying about working for someone else, and I guess it's quite empowering for you to not have to consult anybody higher than you.
Yeah.
Whereas definitely for me and Lucas, and we've had lots of horror stories basically of some of the clients.
Going through one right now.
Yeah,
on my way to court.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to bring that up, but there you go.
Lawyers are very expensive.
Are you actually taking that to court?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, bad.
That's
I mean, we've got to legally do certain steps before you can take it to court.
Yeah.
And I'm getting harassed now in messages.
Right. Okay.
And
well, that's good. That'll strengthen your case at least.
But he's changed. I actually don't want to talk about it too much, just because it's something.
Yeah.
But it's you got to go through certain steps before you can legally take it to a small claims court. So like you've got to start with that letter. There's certain things you have to do before it like a judge would ever see it, kind of thing. So, but yeah, like I do agree, and I remember saying to both of you, I don't think I could be client facing forever. Like I genuinely, I love it. I love you know, fucking run a few agencies, you know, but I definitely, after the next 10 years, I definitely don't think I can see myself still being in that like B2B space, client-facing space.
Yeah.
Could you?
I just think it depends on what the goal is, because if the goal is to get to like $1 million a month, the complexities that come with running an agency to get to that figure get more and more kind of complicated and vast, and then it becomes much more sensible to start a brand and start scaling that shit with the.
I don't know.
power of
I just don't. I just don't. Not. I don't value the agency space. I just don't like the thought of you transforming a brand and for that brand owner to be like, oh yeah, you know, it's my brand that's been transformed, and not giving appreciation to.
That's happened to me a lot.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we have at the end of the day is cash. And so it depends how much you value that.
Yeah.
You've got to detach to a certain extent, I think, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely
It's
do.
fulfilling
You are
regardless.
delivering a service.
Yeah.
But surely your
it.
service isn't as strong as what it could be if that brand owner was appreciative.
Appreciative of the service, you mean? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, definitely.
Because I know for a fact that you probably put a bit more effort into ours.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I make UGC for you personally, and I don't do that for anyone else. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it depends on the client. Like, I think that's such a big thing as well. Like, I fucking put way more effort into yours because we've become really good friends, and I want to work hard and get better results for people that fucking treat me well.
Yeah.
Like, it's who like. I this is the thing that actually makes me go crazy in that space, that some brand owners, and I've worked with many, think they use like manipulation and scarcity tactics to try and get you to work harder. Like they almost like try and, you know, pull you along on a you know, what is it, you know, cat
on a stick.
Yeah, cat on a stick, dangle the bait in front of you kind of thing, to, you know, to keep you wanting to push harder to get them better results because they're not giving you that praise and fulfillment for the what you're doing for them. But it's such a short-sighted approach. Like realistically, that, you know, it does work in some cases where we've had brands that have been so fucking awful to us that we wanted to work harder just to try and prove to them that we could do better. But whenever that's been the case, like the relationships end very quickly. It doesn't last very long. But like with what we've got, you build a fulfilling relationship that can prosper on both sides.
Do you see more brand owners going to the agency space and more agency owners going to the brand space?
I don't. Have you ever seen a brand owner go into the agency space?
I don't think I ever have, no.
So I know the guy that
I've
started.
seen a lot of agencies do brands.
The guy that started Tabs, I think he's started like some kind of agency.
I think it depends on what kind of like demand you're getting, because the Twitter guys that are posted about how well their brand is doing just over and over again are going to be literally inundated with requests from people to run their ads.
Let's
Do
be
you know what I
honest.
mean? So it's actually an incredibly good marketing funnel
Do you
for
think
an
that's
agency.
I mean,
Big time.
That's probably
Big time.
yeah, using that as a case study. Like I am the case study.
My brand is making $1 million a month. I can replicate that shit for you. That's the most powerful case study in the world.
True.
I just think that instigates the fact that being a brand owner is more wider appreciated than being an agency owner.
It's cooler.
Yeah.
It's way cooler, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, it's what you said. It depends what the end goal is. It depends what your daily focus is. It depends what you've got on your mood board.
Yeah.
If you've got cash in the mood board and you want to, do this, get cash, and then do something else, thank you. And don't get me wrong. I imagine when you do get them clients that are really appreciative and you get the results that they require, and they're like, holy fuck, Joe, you've transformed my business. You've saved my business. You've saved my fucking family home. I'm sure that's fucking fulfilling.
Yeah, that is awesome. To be fair, yeah, that is awesome.
But I think.
But I know what you mean. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
No.
Yeah, because it's one of those
questions.
Huh?
He knows what's questions coming up.
Oh yeah, it's
I
true.
don't actually know what's coming up. To be
Well,
fair.
this one's aimed at me. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I don't know, is it? Because we do both. But UGC over high production video all day long. It's a hard one.
I can't agree with that to that extent. Do you know what I mean? So.
No, I mean, well, it's like it's kind of like either way. It's a ooh.
I think
yeah, true.
if you're So the script for UGC is test, find out what works and go and do it. That's harder to do on the high production.
You know, that's
stuff.
literally at lunch when we were at that tapas place earlier. The guy who's Wes, he was saying that. He was saying the reason why he thinks UGC can perform much better is because you can fucking do it at scale. Yeah. You could like test like 10 different hooks. Yeah. Whereas with a high production piece of content, you can't do that.
But it can last longer.
But TikTok, I do think I think it's very situational. It depends on what it is. I think as a broad term, I disagree with that. But if you're looking at TikTok, I would say you want to be as native to the platform as you can, and you know that lower production phone UGC style is more native to the platform.
Don't get me wrong. I think the high production, I see that sort of argument as a clock that will come back around to the high production stuff because it's different from everything else, but it's relatable. Yeah, you know, it's watchable, sort of say. But you know, and then once the high performance stuff sort of hits round, then the UGC stuff will come back in because it's not what people see. From these big brands, and naturally, what the most ads you see come from 10% of 10% of brands on TikTok. Yeah. So once they start going to the high production stuff, that's when UGC will come back around. Once the bigger brands go to the UGC, that's when.
I think it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's as black and white as like doing one for we're in a phase where you do one and then we're in a phase that you do another. I think it's more like brand. Depending on the platform, high production video is way better for say brand equity, as we were saying earlier. You couldn't put a fucking UGC video as a YouTube pre-roll ad to drive brand. Like it doesn't work necessarily, and it's not going to build trust in the brand. You wouldn't see one of the fucking unicorns doing something like that. So I genuinely think if you've got the fucking budget for it, it's really important to do both.
Yeah, but then the crook to that is if you've got the budget to do the high performance stuff, naturally brands don't do the UGC stuff because they don't see it as on brand. I think there's a place for both, but I definitely 100% every day of the week would choose UGC over high performance due to the fact that I can have confidence in getting a 10 grand package with you for UGC and a 10 grand
and
package
it actually turning an ROI.
And a 10 grand package for the high performance stuff because I can maybe cough 6 or 7 ads out of the high performance stuff, but I can kind of get 20, 30 ads out of the UGC package. So I think for value for money, I'm picking that every day of the week.
Yeah. And like naturally, people, the first thing you're gonna do is look for value for money and what you can quickly see results from. Yeah. And people naturally, will go towards a bottom of funnel approach than a top of funnel approach.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say that different types of content have a different purpose at each level of the funnel. And when you're a brand that's potentially doing $1 million a month, it's probably a good time to start investing in true top, high value, high production top of funnel to essentially give your potential customer an idea in their heads that you're a brand that's becoming well known essentially. But and why? Then UGC is like middle of funnel, and then it's like and then it's the different platforms and tailoring content to those different things. So you're absolutely right. There's absolutely no black and white to it. It's just trying to figure out the best combination of, okay, I'm going to spend this budget on this, and I'm going to go 50% of budget on UGC, and then I'm going to go 20% of budget on email, and then figuring out that combination. And I think if you take that omni-channel approach, as a whole, the business is going to start scaling quite predictably as well. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Careful about the
the old slappers.
The old slaps.
From my point of view, I would say if I'm at $1 million a month doing UGC, why would I change that approach?
Because you want to become an in-house brand for the same reason that
I don't know if I can mention this on the pod, I think the reason you would not change that approach but add to that approach is because a great example, Udi,
that's
right?
What I'm saying.
Udi have become one of the masters for direct response brand who are killing it bottom of funnel. But then as a result, they've built no brand and they're seen as a product, not a brand that means something more than just the product itself. Yeah. We're actually in talks with them currently about, redefining
who they are,
what
and
their
mission statement and all the rest.
It's like Gymshark. Gymshark started as a fucking drop shipping company. Yeah. Then it moved to gym attire with fucking printed labels, and then it became, right, what do we want the people that wear Gymshark to define, and what does putting on a Gymshark hoodie, what does that stand for as a person?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
what
it's
what do you represent?
It represents bettering yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see like how
it's very like on a psychological level, it's very deep. It's like really cutting into the core of someone's aspiration when they actually buy a product, which is I want to seem like this.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That builds legacy for a brand.
Defo.
But then that mission statement can be portrayed in the sort of UGC that you create as well. If you're wanting to create content that gives you aspirations to be a certain person, you're going to get UGC based on gym goers.
I guess maybe we're not the right person to talk because we've not taken a 30 mil brand to 300 million, so we're kind of speculating a bit, aren't we?
But no, it's an interesting debate. But like, it just seems like the obvious next move to like. It depends on the product or brand. Because like the Essence Vault, for instance, like it's not the kind of brand where you would start trying to define where if you wear the Essence Vault, you're this kind of person.
Why not? I can see that happening for Essence Vault.
No,
defo.
I think it's a weird. Obviously, you mentioned earlier there. If you're at 300 million a year, why change now?
No, but it's not. I don't
30
think that's
to 300.
No, he's doing more than that, is he not?
Who?
Are they not doing more?
I
don't actually know the numbers they're doing. I would say they're doing closer to like 50, but I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, in that aspect, if you're having to second guess what the brand stands for, that many years down the line, I think you're more likely to prefer to choose the sale path rather than defining the brand. I think the brand is what it is. You know, defining the brand.
Could you ever see yourself like stepping down as a CEO from the Essence Vault and giving it to someone? If the goal is to take it wherever it is now and like 10x it, and you felt like you were the person stood in your way, would you do that?
I don't think every brand doesn't need to be 10x. Like the same thing for what I've said to Lucas before. My sort of goal is to become like a privatized tuck group.
Yeah.
Right. Get you.
That's a sick move.
Yeah, but that's what I want to do. But okay, from 1 million ARR to 10 million, to me is a piece of cake. I think once you create that £1 million brand, it is a few different tweaks, and it is a £10 million pound brand overnight.
Yeah.
But then the jump from 10 million to 100 million isn't worth the time, the sort of, because the whole picture changes. You know, your branding packages are now 300,000. They're massive amounts.
Yeah.
So it's easier to go back and say, look, I've done this relatively recently. I know how to take this next brand to 1 million.
So you would rather, I guess it makes sense. You'd rather take 10 brands to 10 mil than one brand to 100 mil.
Fair.
And I think what do
you think's harder?
What?
Taking 10 brands to 100 mil. Taking 10 brands to 10 mil, one brand to 100 mil.
Taking Zena Skin to £1,000 day has been harder than it takes the Essence Vault to get to 7 figures in a month.
Mad.
100%. So
why do you think that is?
Because that's where the crux of a brand is. That's where you're getting your VIP customers. Once you grasp them, 10 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers, you're there. Because now you've got your lookalikes in real life sort of terms. You know what then customers want. The early days of the Essence Vault, I used to email customers, the top 10 customers that had spent like fucking our AOVs like £30, they had spent like £1,000. So I emailed them.
Fucking hell.
What are you doing with the products? Like what's going on here?
They're reselling it.
So some of them were
really.
So that used to be something that we looked into was how do we capture the resale angle? So basically, there's a massive company called FM, and they're a massive like a pyramid scheme in the UK. They're not actually, but a lot of people see that as it working, no?
Yeah, it's all good.
A lot of people see them as a pyramid scheme, so that would have damaged our reputation and maybe prevented us from going elsewhere. So we edged away from that.
Would you white label?
No, because so in the UK, white label and perfume isn't as easy as just letting them buy a bottle with no label on it. We need to make that label for them. We need to safety test that, CPSR it, and put it on the basically a website for all the beauty products in the UK.
Right.
We need to do all that because we're the ones that have manufactured it. So it's not just as easy as And people do it all the time. Just give me £10,000 worth of this fragrance with no label on it. And we're
Right.
like, look, we physically can't do that because we're not allowed to. And they're like, well, I don't want to buy it, don't want to do it.
Fair.
So like, it's harder than it looks. But what we done was with emailing them customers, we found out what the customers wanted, new product lines, everything they got there, and we were able to grow that. So that's what we're doing with this, or Zena Skin as well. We're finding out what the customers want, why they bought from us, would they continue to buy from us, what's the 3 things that they don't like about the brand, what's the 3 things that they do like about the brand, and then we reposition ourselves with that. So I think when you're growing, you're making this sort of profile about bringing a £30 billion brand to a £300 million brand. What if you get that wrong?
Yeah.
You know, are you risking dropping that rather than growing it?
I think a big thing as well is, like, now being on the brand side, if I ever started a brand, I know that from the start of from the start of that brand, because what I see so much now is that a brand goes to a point where they're doing 100k a month or something, and then they think, oh shit, we've never actually done a brand identity or know who we are, who our customers are, who our avatar is.
Yeah.
And they're almost having to fucking track back and then work out,
figure out who,
do
why.
the brand identity when they're already like at a point of doing, 6 figures a month or something, and they've kind of got to rework that and then do all this fucking customer research and all this. So a big thing I would say is, like, whatever route you go down, do a brand identity at the start. And you don't even need to, this is saying coming from a company that fucking do this and charge for this, but just even down to its simplest form, work out in depth who your customers are, who your customer avatar is, your customer persona, do your competitor analysis, what is your tone of voice, what is your mission statement, and if you know all of those, it means you can align all of your different channels in a way that is positive. And it means that as well, when people come into the business, if you have that brand book, it means everyone can align very quickly into that. And even How Many Media fell into this, where we only built our brand book fairly recently. We built out our culture pillars, what the end goal was, where we want to be, and what we stand for as a company. So now, if anyone joins the company, they can get on board with what that looks like.
Yeah,
I think is a big thing.
I think if we done that with the Essence Vault early doors, it would be completely different to what it was today, in terms of brand book and what I did customer sort of thing. And
in
I think
positive way.
It's a lot more wider. And it's funny because up until recently, the Essence Vault was an 85% oriented at female purchasers, but because we changed to Lucas for creation, that kind of switched to 50-50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
because of the likes of Sean and stuff.
If we gave you that brand book on 85% female, that 85% female would have stayed. But now we're at 50-50, and the CPA for males is less than what it is for females. So naturally, if you do give all that information, obviously it's different for a fucking female skincare brand, because you're not going to say, here, just do what you want, and you put the face mask on yourself, and then therefore no one buys it because no one knows it's a female focused brand. That's different. But even to the extent of Zena Skin, what we found early doors was we done all this Gen Z related copy and hey babe sort of thing, and then what we found was people purchasing it was 35 plus, because the mums seen it on the daughters and wanted to buy it because they wanted to be cool sort of thing. And we would never ever have, if we sat around a table like this and say, right, what do we want the brand to stand for, we would never have thought that. And we're finding that for the other brand, that me and you we have competitors in, same sort of thing. Age group's completely different.
Yeah.
We thought that younger people buy it for themselves. Tends to be the older people buy it for the younger university goers. And I think if you really constrict yourself to a very, very, very bespoke brand guideline early doors, then you're isolating yourself to the bigger picture. But I think it is important and it is needed.
It's a really difficult one, because I agree with you and I disagree at the same time, because in the case of the Essence Vault, it's worked out very well, and I think you shouldn't be scared to pivot and try, especially if it's not working, and try new things. But I also think that if someone took that too literally and go fully wide open, there's no power in no niche whatsoever. No. And as a result, from a performance side, what do you do with that in terms of knowing where to target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because especially if you box yourself into an idea of who your customer is and that marketplace is limited, because that's the reason ultimately that you can't scale spend, is because your brand message doesn't speak to enough people to be able to just keep spending money, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's the problem that we face, is like, how do you design a brand to have as much emotional impact on the broadest audience possible, because that's what will give you the ability to scale. And an easy way of doing that is obviously selling a product that fixes a problem for a lot of people. But from a branding perspective, that it's, and I'd love to get your feedback on this, but it's like, how do you tailor that message to really kind of dial in on who it is that you want to talk to in a specific marketplace to be able to spend effectively, essentially?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find that like your scaling in terms of your spend like tapers off at a certain level, and what would you put that down to?
Yes and no. I up until about 2 weeks ago, I done all of the media by myself, and we've got a Google agency we've worked with since pretty much day one.
Did you really? Cool.
And then we've worked with quite a few brands, just never works out. I usually prefer to keep it in brand, because naturally we've always worked with American agencies, and I really, really fucking despise taking phone calls at like 8 o'clock at night, or even 5 o'clock at night, because it's your end of the day, you're not prepared for it, and you know they're coming on, they're all bubbly, they want to fucking talk, and you're just no.
Yeah, it's like, morning. You're like, I've been working for 12 fucking hours.
But that, all serious, that's what it sort of was. We're working with Ollie and Joe, obviously yourself, and the TikTok ads, Facebook ads, and I think Ollie's like, I think he's nearly enough double the budget on TikTok with, awesome. And still adding 20% to the ROAS. So I don't think spend's ever really tapered off. Right. It's just what you're comfortable at, sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
Because I up until last year,
distribution, ROAS, profitability. That's all the factors that come
that's what we
into
want.
it.
Yeah.
What's your? Because I know you said you it was kind of like 80% Facebook and then 20% TikTok, and then when we started doing UGC, it kind of switched in the sense. Where does Google sit in that in terms of
Google's
what's
always
that
about
generating?
Google's always about 33%. I kind of like it like that. I don't really. I don't see Google as an acquisition channel really.
Yeah.
Me and Rail and Vincent, have you heard of them?
No.
They're here tomorrow or the next day. We always have quite a lot of arguments because I don't really believe in Google's idea of a top of funnel campaign. I think it's always going to be some sort of retargeting.
Brand.
What do you think?
Home furnishings, it's an incredible.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Incredible top of funnel.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Essence Vault, I can see that would be very middle of funnel.
Wait, so how does that work from a top of funnel perspective?
Top of funnel perspective in terms of
people know that
in
they want
terms
to buy
of Google shopping and home furnishings. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, it's almost like that innate understanding that if you're looking for furniture, you type it in Google, and then the thing that comes up is probably the thing that you're going to buy.
Yeah.
As
If you don't have any objections to it, because naturally you're buying it.
Yeah,
but with us, we're coming in there as the bully boy. You know, they're not going to come in. If they come in, type in the Essence Vault, they're not.
It's a very disruptive product. With what you're selling, as opposed to furniture, which everyone's looking for all the time.
Yeah, they're not going to buy this brand of furniture, and that's what they're going to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So with us, if they're typing in the Essence Vault, they're not top of funnel. So therefore, is it worth spending money there? Yes, because if we don't spend money there, some other bastard's going to spend it. And they're going to get our customers. Obviously, you've got different stuff, search terms based on your competitor. Is that still top of funnel? Because naturally, are they just typing in your competitor to compare them to yourselves? You know, we are the biggest in that space. We have been for the last year and a half. So if they're typing in a competitor's name, that's naturally because they're comparing us to them. Do you know what I mean? So that's still not top of funnel, really.
Yeah.
So I don't like having it more than 33%. I'll probably scale it in line.
Nice. All right. Cool. Let's move on. Cool. So next one, and remember, 5 seconds. I don't want anyone to look at anyone. We just ask this, and if you drink, you drink. Okay. Single founder over business partner.
Chin chin.
I mean, this is coming from someone who I disagree with that and I was a single founder, and then obviously now
Me
at
too.
For You
I was a
Advertising.
single founder
Yeah,
as
you
well.
were as well,
Yeah.
and then you and Jordan fucking built an empire.
We
So
did.
let's just go around. I won't start. Who wants to start?
I'm going to start this.
Okay, go on.
Because me and Jordan have one of the most heroic business relationships in all of history. And it's definitely not going to watch
Humble
this.
guy. Humble guy. We have the best culture.
Enslave your staff members.
Don't do that.
Obviously, I'm joking. I think having a business partner is somebody that complements you can be one of the most empowering and kind of just amazing way of doing business, because if you meet someone that's truly a business partner, they're not just your business partner, they're your friend, and you are setting out on a journey together, and that journey together basically holds you accountable for each other's actions literally on a daily basis, as if you didn't have yourself to hold yourself accountable enough. When you're in it with a business partner, it takes it to a whole new level. And I think I wasn't, in terms of like motivation, the 100% most motivated, ambitious person in the whole wide world. But because me and Jordan have this like perfect, amazing synergy with each other, we just kind of hold each other accountable, and we push each other. Basically, we push each other like you do in a football team, like you do in cricket teams, like any kind of like team sport. That's what this is essentially representing. And if you can get that synergy, then that's when super amazing shit can start to happen. And you ask any super, super high founder in the world, and they are 100% like, I literally couldn't do it without all these other people that are involved. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a 50-50 split with a business partner, but you do have to have people to be able to lean on in terms of covering the spaces that you can't,
Complementing
essentially.
each other's weaknesses.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Connor?
I think
Connor is obviously a solo founder.
And I would honestly, it would take me quite a lot to work with someone else.
We've spoken about it.
Yeah, and probably yourself would probably be the only person. I sort of
quite offended.
Definitely not Joe. No, I haven't spoken to Joe before today, so that's obviously the reason for that.
So it's all about to change, Connor.
I think a big part of that is, the influential people growing up for me was obviously my father first, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. 3 people from 3 businesses that you've only ever heard of that person's name. Hence, that means that person had most of the work done. And then
they are freak of natures, though. I feel like
who did you list?
Elon Musk, my dad, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos.
I feel like they are anomalies as founders.
But they're the 3 biggest founders in the world. Like 3, Bill Gates as well, Steve Jobs, 5.
How much digging have you done to really determine that they are really the solo person, just not the marketing point, like the face of the business?
Naturally, they are. They have been the key to a lot of business decisions. Look at Steve Jobs with Apple getting kicked out of his own company, bringing them back because it was sort of failing. I'm not saying that they were, obviously they didn't have the overall power in their brands, but naturally they were the big voice behind them. And most circumstances, that doesn't mean that you go into a room with 6 other people and discuss, okay, so what do you think we should do? No, actually, what do I want? That's not what I'm saying. I think that there needs to be a synergy in thoughts. There can't be, if me and you work together and we disagree on something, what's the outcome? Just a fallout?
No, I think we're like
50-50.
Yeah, but we're adults, so I think it's you come to a reasonable conclusion. I think realistically, it's I guess because from my side, I have recently gone from being building, if I may say so myself, a decent creative agency,
100%.
to then starting another agency with other founders. And that for me was a real realization that we scaled that business beyond my other agency and their agency within the space of 6 months, because you've come together with other people that complement each other's skills and in different ways, which means you can work, you know, at a much faster pace and be able to kind of collaborate, hold each other accountable and push forward. And it was the thing I was always a bit jealous of with Jordan and Joe, because, you know, we've been friends for a long time in business, and I've seen what those two have done together. And, you know, I think as well, it's like, it's a lonely game, entrepreneurship. And if you have that person, I mean, what you've done by yourself is fucking ridiculous.
And don't get me wrong,
it's
the dark days are very dark when you're doing it by yourself. You know, when we have, obviously, you know, in private, some of the hard stuff that we went through, and you feel that, like, really physically when you're by yourself. But I don't understand why I can't go home and speak to my wife, my father, brother. I don't really need a business partner for that.
But they're not like invested, you know, they don't have financial investment into
They also
company.
can't necessarily provide you with solutions
because they're not in the trenches
when you best need them as well.
Well, they're not in the trenches like a business partner would be.
I think if you could talk about this all night, but if
you could,
and we will.
Settle in, boys.
If you're in the shit heap with a business partner, you're in it with them. So why would you take advice from each other than speak to a consultant?
Because your business partner always gives you a fresh perspective. The whole point is
you're in that with yourself.
It's more of a mindset thing. Like with everything, it's irrelevant of the actual success of the business. If your mindset's fucked, then that's ultimately what's going to drive the business into the ground.
And what's one thing that we all have in common is that everyone loses you can't consistently be motivated at all times. But if you have a business partner, you could be demotivated at one point, and they could be very motivated and be able to pick you up and
that's
drive it
happened
forward.
multiple times.
I was going to say, how many times has that happened where you
probably
Jordan has been
4 to 5
bit like
times.
disconnected, or you've been disconnected,
Big time.
and the other person's
and we know it, and we don't have to say it. It's like Jordan will have, and this happens in life, bro. You go through slumps of being like 3 months, you're feeling shit, and I know exactly when Jordan's in that physical state, and I'm like, right, I need to fucking pull this shit together, and he does the exact same thing for me, and it's
but going off that basis, if I'm in Barcelona and my business is in England, my business should be failing right now if I'm not there.
No, it's a mindset thing. Is
No,
what I'm talking about.
agree.
Like over an extended period.
I think
of time.
like the biggest thing, right, is building an incredible team. Like that's like regardless of whether you have a business partner or not. If you build an incredible team, they're the ones that are going to be driving the business. But I do think that if the argument is...
Yeah, we all have businesses that would just literally run on their own right now.
All of our businesses are running right now.
But the actual soul of the business in terms of driving it forwards and figuring out, okay, what platform's going to work next? Oh, why are these ads dropping? Oh, let's figure out a new strategy. It all comes from you.
I don't know. I would far rather like the Mentor Pass program. Have you heard of it? No, Mentor Pass. Ollie's on it.
Yeah, I've heard
basically,
of it.
it's mentors. You pay for an hour of the mentor's time. I'd far prefer that than a business partner. That.
What about the phrase, I'd rather have a slice of a watermelon than a whole grape?
Well, a slice of watermelon wouldn't fill me either. So.
I fucking hate watermelon.
I fucking do. It's got fucking seeds in it too. No, I prefer grapes as well.
Got it. Awesome.
I love this question.
Fuck your
I
watermelon.
knew this would provide a million.
Do you know what? Like, it's
We're about to start fighting, and you're just laughing.
I suppose it's better to be. What is it? A jack of all trades,
Master of none,
but still better than a master of one. Having two business partners and you're not taking advice from outsource, you're.
It doesn't mean you can't.
No, it doesn't.
Like Jordan
I don't
and Joe.
see.
We bought a mastermind for 37 grand 3 months ago. 37k because we established within our knowledge base, me and him together, that we didn't have the knowledge that we needed to take our company to the next level, and we did that together, and we could split the cost, which was fucking awesome as well.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Can we actually talk about that? Because I think that was that's quite an interesting topic. So. And I don't think Jordan would mind me talking about this, but do you remember me, you and Jordan were out that time, and I was saying that I was paying like close to 3k a month for a high-level consultant who was acting as a fractional COO in our business. So we would like have consulting calls weekly. He'd been there, done that, built a big agency and sold it. And I was like, remember saying to you and Jordan, like, you guys should do you do any consulting? Do you do any? And because you both have built like a huge education business where you're the teachers, I was like, do you do any consulting like for people higher than you? And I actually remember you guys like were like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't feel like anyone can kind of teach what we don't already know.
Yeah.
And
at the time that was very much how we felt, but not how it needed to be. Or like just the standpoint of anybody not wanting to continue learning more than they already know is wrong.
Because do you remember then I was kind of like, I feel like you both built such successful businesses. And because you're educators yourself, you probably, it's become very easy to not think that you can also be educated.
Yeah,
and I remember the next day Jordan was like, I'm doing this consulting program.
Yeah, I think when you spend literally weeks on every single day teaching people what they need to know to get them from this level to this level, you almost kind of like adopt that teacher mindset, and it becomes more difficult for you to take advice off someone that's higher than you. But to be fair, at the time, we were very happy with the amount of money that our business was making. It's only when we decided that we wanted to take it to the next level and establish that we needed more knowledge to be able to do so, that it was like, right, let's do this thing. And then we bought a course, a mastermind, for 37 grand. So that's how invested in the idea that we were. So we knew that it'd be effective. And it has been already like straight off the bat. So I remember that conversation very clearly, and I remember thinking back on it thinking like, oh yeah, Lucas is right here. Like if you want to just keep going, then that's the
I think you and I actually like.
He's got to clip that bit where you said he's right and put it on TikTok.
No, I do rate though, because like instantly I remember we like had a bit of a debate about it, and I love that when you've got friends that can they're not yes men. You just have debates about shit.
That's what I mean. But you don't need a business partner to have that.
Yeah.
I've seen enough horror stories of business partners falling out and destroying multi-million-pound brands over the course of a fucking fallout when they're pissed.
But then what you don't hear about is the solo brand owners that fucking the 90% of businesses that fail in their first year. You're more likely to succeed if you start a business with someone else.
It links back to the question, brand or agency, doesn't it? Then what's easiest to get off the ground?
I would love. I started my brand. I wanted to work for myself because I didn't want to work for anyone else. So even though you have got a business partner,
you've got to answer to them, and you
still got to answer to them. And that is perfect from a mindset point of view. But from I don't want to put in this hard work just to have a fallout with someone and it destroys my whole net worth. The reason I want to start a brand with you is because that brand is the peak of that pinnacle brand is TikTok organic, which is your speciality. And what that speciality needs is fulfillment, which is what the current competitor is struggling with.
But that's kind of the same shit. It's like if I'm good at, let's say I start a business and I'm good with numbers and operations, but I'm shit at creative and ads. But then my mate over there is an insane media buyer and amazing with creative. Then surely it makes it like it's the exact same shit.
It is definitely.
It's got to make sense. I think is the point. Like you don't just start it with a mate because you're mates.
Yeah.
I think you and Jordan have very not conflicting. You have very you have different skill sets that complement each other.
Yeah.
If you both had conflicting skill sets which were the same, and there were weaknesses around that in terms of business acumen, I think it's a different story. So I do think it's very situational.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you've even said that in this situation it would make sense to start a brand with me.
It would definitely make sense because because the cost of making it work by myself isn't worth it if we were to do it together.
Yeah.
So it is a transition of goods. Basically, I want your expertise, you want my expertise. So let's put it on paper. But for my existing brands, I haven't seen the need for that. And that doesn't mean that I don't like. I second guess every single one of my actions. I take inspiration from any question, any business question. I always ask my father first. He's been there, done that in the physical state, not the e-commerce state. So he knows these sort of issues, and one thing he always wished he'd done was he used to always say he always wished he owned 100% of business.
Mm.
So naturally, that's where my thought process comes from.
Yeah. my dad was exactly the same, by the way.
Yeah.
So my dad had multiple businesses and got kicked out a lot of them and had to go to industrial tribunals and all the rest
Same
of it.
sort of thing. We both learn from them situations.
Exactly, But even in that case, even when I was like, no, I'll never go into business with someone, I was like, it would literally be a no-brainer for me to go into business with Jordan, like an absolute no-brainer. In terms of our personal connection. That's why I say it goes further than just a business transaction. It has to be a very personal friendship, and like we're on this mission together, and it has to be more than just the business.
And that's why with us, it would make sense as well, because we actually get on more than just a transaction.
Definitely. I mean, I just don't. I would never ever do it for my main brand, or not even a brand, because I want to have that bit that's mine. But like,
I think in someone in your position, it makes a lot of sense going into business with Lou, because if your goal is to scale the brand as quickly as possible, and you want the hack to be able to get that as fast as you can, and you already have your like 3 brands that you're 100% owner in that are churning over good money, and then you have the ability to sell. It's like, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Like, let's grow brands together for the fun of it.
I've always wanted to start a brand that solves a problem for me, and that is exactly why I'm starting a company for erectile dysfunction.
Awesome.
Anyway, all right.
Wicked.
All right, cool. Anyway, moving
that
on.
champagne's gone to your red.
Should have said that one, shouldn't I?
Helena, can you?
Soon. No. So again, I think last kind of point now, we've had some great. This is more of a question rather than the game. I know we've actually like debated on a lot. I think it's quite a cool concept.
Yeah,
actually.
definitely.
It's worked well because there's been some.
I can get Joe and I like this. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's great. I think it's good because we've all kind of had different opinions on it.
We've all had different opinions, which has been really nice.
Yeah, and it would have been boring if we all agreed with each other.
Yeah, can you imagine if we were just sat there just going, I agree.
So I think this is quite a nice one, because again, I obviously released that video, the new series When Shit Hits the Fan, and it's like a new series where when something goes bad in my business, I'll just talk about it.
Oh, well, I've got a big complaint about my business partner. He's an absolute wanker, mate. I really wish I'd never got into business.
Yeah, exactly. But like I've never had so much positive private messages off the back of a video than that one, even though it took the least effort, because it was like so transparent and open. So this question I think could be quite a nice one. What was your lowest point? And I think this would be the last question. We'll just go around. What was your lowest point or craziest moment in business, and how did you kind of overcome that?
Do me go first?
Yeah, go on.
I think this is probably the reason why I portray the certain thoughts. Don't want to be in business with anyone else. I'm very, very strong, especially on Twitter, about these net 90 credit terms, credit cards. In end of 2019, we were nearly bankrupt. Basically, we tried to grow too fast. We purchased a building, warehouse, obviously grow into it. Left ourselves too thin. The Black Friday wasn't as strong as what we predicted. Our net profit wasn't as strong as what we had thought. Back then, triple whale wasn't a thing, so you worked out your break-even point and your net profit on this day. Maybe left it for a while, done it again a week later. So it wasn't as high as what we thought. So we were about 30 days from falling behind on payments. We never actually fell behind on payments, but we were about 30 days from having to actually think, what was going wrong. And that was dark. You're just after Black Friday. You've got everyone, and don't get me wrong, they were record-breaking days. But and also another thing why I'm so heavily against people posting Shopify screenshots, because I could have posted that Shopify screenshot and everyone would be like, "Oh, amazing!"
What, as in big revenue, no
big
profit?
Yeah. And we did make a fair percent of profit, but it just wasn't as much as what we needed to do the work that we were actually doing. Like, I bought a warehouse and kitted it out with the state-of-the-art fucking fulfillment systems, offices, everything like really top notch. But then all the bills started coming in, and it was really scary. Obviously, as I said, them dark times are 10 times darker when you do it by yourself. But because you could argue you could never get into them positions if you did have a business partner, yada yada yada. But because I didn't have a business partner, I was able to just go, right, this is what we're doing. I'm sticking to it until it works. We changed our free shipping threshold. We changed our pricing. We dropped our agencies. I took it back in house, and we started TikTok because that was in 19. So we started very very early, and within a month we doubled our net profit. We actually done 45% less revenue and still made more net profit.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
That just shows that people that share their revenue
100%.
figures on Twitter is bullshit. It's so
Definitely.
irrelevant.
We didn't match our November numbers until June the following year, but we made more money in January than we did in November and December put together. So that was a big moment for us. You know, we were very tight to the budget. But if I utilised these Net 90 that partner card, the Net 90 card, really stuff that you don't need to utilise in business. There's always saying that if you can't scale, if you don't have the revenue to scale, it's maybe not worth scaling because you may be doing it too fast. If I utilised them Net 90 cards, my problem that I had in November would have been 3 times worse in the March when the payments came about, because now I'm in Q1 with no net profit, very very little, 4 or 5%. You know, I seen that in November and I was able to utilise and change that straight away. But if I did utilise the Net 90, the problem's now 3 times worse, because now we've consistent with another 3 months of very very little profit. Probably made more investments because we're thinking that we're okay, then the bills start coming in.
Yeah.
And you can analyse and predict this as much as possible, but you do not know your next 3 months worth of sales. You don't know what clients are going to drop you tomorrow because maybe they've went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Same with you. You never thought you'd have this problem with a big client.
Yeah.
I bet both of our horror stories are going to be relatively similar. Just
Yeah.
losing a
I don't think
massive
I know
client.
what your one would be, to be fair.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that was obviously mine, but
So how did you like mentally get over that during that phase? Like, were you? Because one thing I've noticed about you, although you're doing like pretty crazy numbers, you are still very much a realist. Like you're like a crippling realist where you have the mindset where it could all end tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, people like the sort of staff members call me a realistic optimist, sort of like, which is, I think is pretty fair, because I always build for the future, but in the right way. Like we've acquired in the last year 5 different warehouses, which will then have tripled our square footage in the last year. So we're obviously still building for the future. So I wouldn't say it's crippling, but at the same time, that's why we have 5 or 6 different brands, and I don't think it's not affecting Essence Vault. Essence Vault's having one of the best sales periods it's ever had now, so I know it's not affecting it, but I think it's important not to have too much focus on scaling so far. Like I'll be honest, we could be £100 million brand if we want it to be now, but it's not worth it, because it's not worth the stress. It's not worth losing equity on looking for investment, funding. I've got this brand. I've got the brand. It's 100% mine, and touch wood, I haven't had a worrying moment, maybe 1 or 2 since then, which is I'm pretty happy about. I'm a lot happier now than I was back then. So yeah.
Cool, man.
But yeah, I don't see, like, you've got all these big ecom Twitter gurus suggesting that you should take out these big massive, and basically all it is it's a fancy word for debt, all these net cards, and you wouldn't pressure a teenager to take out a fucking Amex and run up the bill on investments. So I don't see why you should do it to fledgling e-commerce companies. Things like Wayflower is different. I fully think you should do it with Wayflower, because you're not
you're not giving them equity.
No, you're not.
You heard of Wayflyer?
No.
Wayflyer is brilliant. Like, so basically, it's basically a cash advance company, but you can get equity or you can get funding based on your sales.
Right.
So if you have a bad quarter, you're only paying them 5% of your daily sales.
Right. Okay.
So if you have a bad quarter, you pay them less, pretty much.
You're not trading equity for investment.
No, but for the net 90 cards, like I don't remember the name of it, but no matter how well you do in them 90 days, you're paying them the same amount.
Yeah.
So you can have a bad quarter. You've bought 90 days worth of stock. Think about it in the supplement game. You buy 90 days worth of stock. The sales aren't compatible on the bottle, so then you've got moisture in the tablets, which happened to us on a very, very small scale. But you could have done that in 90 days, not have insurance. The manufacturer's not standing by it. You've now lost 90 days worth of stock. And you have to pay this back.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've done it at your normal level that you can afford to lose, you make that mistake. And
I think it does. With that, it's like, realistically, people, do you want to build a fucking £500 million company? Like, what? If you're fucking happy now and you're making good money, is it greed, or do you actually want to grow to that scale? Some people do, but some people are like, fuck that, because it's probably more stressful.
It's one of them things. Like, everyone says, I want to make a £500 million brand and all this. Do they realise how much money that actually is? The rate we're on at the minute, I live quite comfortably.
Have you seen that stat? And I won't do it justice, but it was like the difference between 1 million seconds and 1 billion seconds.
Yeah,
and like
I saw that one.
1 million seconds was like something
Like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then 1 billion seconds was like
200 years or some shit.
Yeah. Right, Joe.
My horror story.
And I'm not going to do one, because you can go fucking watch the last video. Well, not the last video, but I won't.
You're not going to do
I
one.
won't fucking bore everyone with the same shit again.
I don't think mine's as severe as Connor's, because ultimately it can't be, because I've got a business partner to lean on.
I love it.
Love it.
Connor's like, fucking bastard.
Obviously, it's all fun and games.
This joke is going to continue all weekend.
My dividends are higher.
I'm like, Connor, give me half of your company. You'll thank me later. I think it's been pretty much a steady struggle just all the way through, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been a lovely, nice, steady pain in the arse all the way up to 6 figures a month. So yeah. I would say the probably the worst one is for an agency owner when you invest a lot in a particular client because you really understand their brand and you're delivering results in the most optimal way for them, and they don't see it. That's the worst possible thing, because that happened to us when this brand was essentially 50% of our revenue, paying us 40-50 grand a month at the time.
That's crazy.
And
one client.
And I was like, this is awesome. Let's build an infrastructure around this business and aid them in every single way possible. And we got to the point, obviously, where we were managing their entire marketing process, like literally all the ad scripting, just literally anything that you can imagine, because these guys were doing.
Were you making them?
They were doing like 3 mil, 4 mil, 5 mil a month,
Christ.
like huge, insane numbers. So we were getting paid a shitload off the back of that. And what would you do in that instance if you had that brand? Well, these guys, being 21 and 23-year-olds that they were, business partners, ironically, decided to completely just copy every single system that we'd set up and then just block us out of the account. For no reason other than they wanted to save the 30-40 grand a month that they were paying us as a service charge. And
did they give you any notice?
No notice whatsoever. No notice whatsoever.
Well, you didn't have like a contract in place?
We had a contract in place, but it was a 30-day cancellation contract, because that's the contract that we have with the majority with all of our clients. But they're in the States. I mean, chasing them for a legal thing in the case of like 50. Yeah, 50 grand maybe it is, but
well,
it's
of course,
just
50 grand.
For 50.
Yeah,
it's what time cost and actual physical law cost.
I mean, that's what I'm weighing up now with our situation. Like, what is worth chasing and not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fucked.
But when you build an infrastructure to support their business, which they clearly know is happening from our side because the communication was always there. It's like, yeah, we're going to hire someone else to do this. We're hiring someone else to do this. And we built a team of like, I don't know, it was like 7 people working on their one account, and they just pull the plug on us for no fucking reason, essentially. And I still think to this day that they might actually come back because the level of service that we were giving them was, well, it was producing revenue numbers of like 3, 4, 5 million a month. So it was like, why the fuck would anybody?
So do you?
But that's just because they didn't understand and appreciate the shit that we were doing. Whether it's because we weren't communicating it properly or because they just wanted to save the cash, I don't know. But
I think from a brand's point of view on that, seeing that amount leave the bank every month, even though that it's money well spent and stuff, it's still a burden.
It makes them question it. When we send them a 40 grand meal, it makes them go, fucking hell,
But
I could probably get that cheaper.
Them the money, the amount.
But it's never seen like that. That's a wee bit different.
Stop recording.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
It's fine. It doesn't. We've got most of it.
No.
Oh shit. We literally lost. It's like the last 2 minutes. That's fine.
Cool.
That's fine.
We're living.
So yeah, we'll wrap up now.
How long have we been going for?
An hour and 20.
Fucking hell.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at us go.
Nice.
Awesome.
Right.
Was that one of the competition ones? Was it?
Yeah.
Bastards.
Wankers, mate.
Pure
Absolute
profit,
wankers, bro. It's just that because we built it to support them. That 50 grand was basically our profit for the business. So when they went, profit was non-existent. Just gone, and then it was like shit.
That's what I'm worried about.
I've now got I had like 2 team members that I couldn't fill fucking work for. I was like, shit, man. And they'd already all been there for like more than 6 months, so it's not like I can just sack their ass.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to find them fucking clients to start doing work.
I know.
And it's like, boom, pressure's on.
We want to set up our 3PL and like the pod, like take sort of play off the pod system and do it around 3PL. So like each basically the way it's worked out is each packer can pack 240 orders a day.
Yeah.
So once a client has 240 orders a day, they get their own pod, which is their own packer, their own picker, and their own QA. Well, QA goes across different brands.
Cool.
But then have that as their separate section. So in theory, they could walk into the warehouse and go to their brand,
Right.
sort of thing,
Oh,
which is
cool.
what we want.
Yeah.
And I think that's
But boys, that was fucking sick. That was really sick. I think it actually worked. It was like a really. I thought it worked out well with the questions and how there was debates there. Really appreciate you boys coming on, especially on the ecom holiday that we're on now. This is the start of Geekout, so we'll be going out tonight and having a good time. But guys,
we get
Will we?
but guys, I appreciate you boys coming on. We'll definitely be doing more of these kind of things. Rinse my friends, my successful friends, whenever I'm in their company. But if you found this useful, helpful in any way, you can obviously find us on YouTube, Spotify, on at Unwind Podcast.
Right.
Give it a like, give it a subscribe, a comment. If you've got any questions, we'll try and answer those in due course. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Nice.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Lucas.